Mr. Griffith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman of the Budget Committee, I've been listening today. I appreciate your testimony. And I keep hearing all these scare tactics about us starving children and this, that, and the other. We're just trying to get a little bit, I think you said 2%, or maybe it was Mr. Roy said 2, maybe 2.5% cut in what we're spending across the board. And then I've heard things about energy and commerce, about how energy and commerce is going to do this or energy and commerce is going to do that. This resolution doesn't dictate anything to the committee, the other committee I serve on, does it?
That's correct.
And yet, energy and commerce covers, as I believe John Dingell once said, somebody asked him, what is the jurisdiction of energy and commerce? And he had a picture behind him of planet Earth from outer space, and he said, everything in the picture. So there's all kinds of things that energy and commerce has at its disposal that it can do to reach the number in this resolution. Isn't that true?
That's true.
You know, and I find it interesting because I've heard people say, oh, people are scared. A big part of that is they're being told that children are going to starve. In the United States, we're going to make children starve. That's not true, is it?
No, sir.
I didn't think it was. And I found it interesting because I have been a student of politics for a long time, and the ranking member indicated, I think he said he was 48 years old. So when he was about 5, the campaign against one of my predecessors in the United States Congress, who was a Republican, was he's going to end Social Security. That's 43, 44 years ago. How many times do the Democrats have to play Lucy to the American people's Charlie Brown when they keep saying bad things are going to happen, Republicans are going to push grandma off the cliff, Republicans are going to end Social Security, Republicans are going to do these horrible things, and yet Republicans never do those things? How many more times will the American people buy that, Mr. Chairman? Do you know?
I don't think they're buying it anymore. I think they are absolutely committed to reining in this reckless spending that's driving us off a fiscal cliff. I think they want to keep more of their money. I think they saw a bunch of that money in their budget burned up from the 21% inflation tax, and I think they're offended. They're offended that there aren't more American representatives and leaders for this great country that would take care to steward their dollars so that we could actually have sustainable programs for the most vulnerable, and instead having money siphoned off for people who are in this country illegally. That was a unilateral action by President Biden. And I heard my colleague and friend, Mr. McGovern, talk about how many people are working in SNAP, and he was rightfully proud of the fact that some people in SNAP are in fact working. And yet there's no requirement for able-bodied, healthy adults to enjoy the blessing and dignity of work in Medicaid, but not one Democrat has mentioned that. I would tell you, to my colleague from eastern New Mexico, we share a border and we share culture and values. And the values of our God-fearing, freedom-loving, hard-working farmers and ranchers expect in their generosity in return for able-bodied adults to be working. They know what it does for the human soul, not just the budget and not just our balance sheet. And so, and they're insulted. They're insulted by some of the waste and fraud that's where my colleagues are more offended and indignant by a first-generation immigrant who's done well in this country and wants to give back, and Elon Musk. They're more indignant to the things that he's doing than the actual defrauding of the taxpayers and the federal government. No, sir, I think the American people are not going to be afraid into not supporting the right sizing of a very bloated bureaucracy. They're not going to be intimidated and tricked into thinking that this is an exercise, as the ranking member said, in cutting Social Security benefits. He obviously knows that in reconciliation, Social Security is off the table. It would violate the Byrd Rule from the outset. And yet my colleagues continue to perpetuate these false claims and use these scare tactics. No, sir. The American people are afraid of the $8+ billion a day that we were borrowing under Joe Biden. and unilateral control of the Democrat Party. And they're afraid that if we have a sovereign debt crisis, we'll not only wreck this economy, we'll destroy our national security and our ability to defend this country and our values. And they know that we would bankrupt their children's future. They're behind us, I believe, 100%.
Well, there's no question that a majority of my constituents are behind us. They're not going to fall for the trick that, you know, some shiny object that they claim is going to be eliminated. They're going to want to see what we do, and they want us to protect their children by making sure that we are fiscally responsible. And with that, I yield back.